We look at what's happening in the world around us with refugees and terrible things that are happening, these horrible experiences that we see people suffering. Well, that we should, in a way, for people who are thinking historically, should help us to understand the the oh, the precariousness of the lives of these people during what we call the Reformation. And one of the things that made Calvin a very prominent figure was that he himself had been a refugee. He was living in Geneva, he had left his native France, and for much of his career, he was preaching in churches that were full of people who had come to the city as refugees. They had left everything behind, that many of them had lost everything. They were refugees in a city that didn't particularly want them. Life was incredibly difficult and precarious for these people. If you don't understand that that's the context in which Calvin is preaching, then it's very hard to understand what he's saying. That doesn't have anything to do with whether you agree or not with it, but if you want to understand what he's saying and why he's saying it that way, you need to know that he's not preaching to a bunch of comfortable people sitting in pews who are going to leave church and go for brunch and then go home again. These are people who are on the very edge of survival. They've lost everything, and they're in a place that doesn't really want them. You need to understand he's talking about issues like exile and persecution to people who have lived it. And he has lived it himself. And if we don't understand that, we will never be able to understand the period we're living in.